welcome to Gracefully Graying. I'm your host, Attorney Henry Gorenbein. We are continuing a dialogue that we started in our last show with our guest, Supreme Court Justice Megan Cavanagh and Assistant Attorney General Katharyn Barron, as we continue this very timely and important discussion on elder abuse and the task force regarding the legal system. We are going to start with you, Justice Cavanagh, and can you tell us about a couple of ways the task force is making a real difference in people's lives today?
Sure. I just sort of recap it. Katharyn touched on it just at the end of our last episode, but a really important thing that came out of the task force is the Financial Exploitation Protection Act, which is really enlisting the aid of these financial institutions to help stop or prevent financial abuse before it happens, right? Because that is the time to stop it. After it's occurred, there's, many more limited things we can do to remedy that. So I really look at it, as I had mentioned last time, about, I think it's these upstream solutions, right? Is to figure out why these things are happening before they enter the court system, which I think is really interesting, because I think a lot of what the court system and the judges and administrators within the court system are recognizing now, and it's sort of an odd position to be in, that a big role that we can play is how to keep people out of the court system, right? How we can support families so that they don't end up in child welfare proceedings, how we can support individuals so they don't end up in our criminal justice system. And this, to me, is one way. How can we support and make sure our vulnerable adults and protect them so that they don't end up in our court system? So that's a big one. And so that, as Katharyn said, that was became effective in September. And so now the task force is involved in training the financial institutions, and really, like, that's a portion of the training, but the task force is doing a lot of training of all of the people that are impacted or that have a role to play in protecting vulnerable adults, law enforcement, prosecutors, a big one, of how to identify and investigate vulnerable adult abuse. And what's been great about this task force is, as Katharyn had said, it's such a broad and wide swath of individuals and institutions, is that we get buy-in from really important players in the system, right? For the training and the implementation of a standard vulnerable adult abuse investigation form. We were able to get buy-in from the Michigan State Police and the Michigan Sheriff's Association and the Association of Chiefs of Police and the County Prosecutors Associations. And really, it's such a tremendous asset to have, is to get everybody on the same page and advancing the same goals. So that is a real testament, I think, to the task force. Another, still in this area of training, is doing a lot of online training for in-home caregivers on how to recognize and report and prevent issues of elder abuse or neglect or other exploitation. And that really, the task force is committed to helping to educate caregivers to really have that sort of person-centered support of how you can recognize stressors, conflict resolution. These are difficult times. I am blessed to have both of my parents alive and doing really well. But it's a very stressful and difficult time of life, not only for them, but for those who have to who want to make sure that they're living their lives well, and that they're protected and they're not being taken advantage of, and they have what they need. So offering that training that the task force can give to those who are closest to those people, to our grandparents and parents, is really important. And so one of the other things that we're doing or the task force is doing is educating the public about how to recognize the warning signs and symptoms of elder abuse, and how to report it. And so I think Katharyn is going to share with us. We have some fantastic brochures that we have out and distributing to the public to make sure that those that they have this information, so that the public knows how to sort of recognize these signs, and how to do the work to prevent elder abuse, or at least report it so that others can help protect them. Katharyn, if you want.
Absolutely. If I may take it from there.
Yeah.
Katharyn.
Justice Cavanagh. So when you go to the elder abuse homepage, and again, mi.gov/elder abuse, all one.
This is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is one of I think the most impactful things the Elder Abuse Task Force is doing. So let me set the stage a little bit. Why should you be listening? Well, first, you should be listening because Henry's talking. And anything Henry has to say is important. And anything he brings on this show is to benefit you. So we know statistics tell us that, and this is in the US, this isn't worldwide, and this is from the Department of Justice. And it relates to community dwelling adults, older adults over 60. 1 in 10 in the last year was the victim of some form of abuse. Wow. Let's pause a second. 1 in 10 was the victim of some form of abuse. Now, that statistic alone should blow you away. It blows me away.
Terrifying.
Now, the statistic, 1 in 25 of those instances gets reported. 1 in 25. So what does that tell us? That tells us that we all need to be much more aware of this, to spot it when we see it, to report it, to recognize and report. Justice Cavanagh talked about that. Let's recognize and report. So this brochure that was put together by all of these experts helps us do that. Let's look at the physical signs. There are physical signs: dehydration, maybe some unusual weight loss, maybe the individual's missing medication or some assisted devices, unexplained injuries or sores, unsanitary living conditions, or poor hygiene. So those are some physical signs. Emotional behavioral signs, this brochure goes through those. Unusual changes in behavior or sleep patterns. Withdrawing from normal activities. Isolation, this is a big one. Those who abuse others, one of the first things they want to do is isolate them from everybody who cares about them so that nobody else knows what's going on. So isolation from friends or family is another big sign. Increased anxiety or fear is another sign. Financial signs. Now, the prosecutors and the experts in the area will tell you, if you find financial abuse, you're likely to find the other forms of abuse. So it's really important that we watch for financial signs of abuse, neglect, or exploitation. So some of these signs: unpaid bills. Maybe there's a foreclosure or something, and you know the person has money. Unusual changing in spending patterns. And we go through this with the financial institutions because they're most likely to see this. You know, the person never used an ATM card and now they're using an ATM card all the time. They didn't online bank and they said they'd never do it because they didn't trust it. And all of a sudden they're doing a lot of online banking. Missing household items. This could be expensive tools, other valuable items. Unexpected changes in wills or property. A new helper comes along and the next thing you know, there's a new will or a new joint person. So as I scroll down, you see some of these other signs. Purchasing large items that the elder adult does not use. That ATM that's in grandma's driveway, or that Cadillac, or the new boat. Well, is grandma really strapping on the helmet and using the ATM? Is she skiing behind the boat, or is she enjoying that boat? Those are things to be aware of. So let's take a look at the first page. This is a trifold. And so you're seeing kind of the inside, or the guts. On the outside, one of the most important things is, what do you do if you see this? How do you report the abuse? And so you see the toll-free number, that 855-444-3911. That's also the same number if you want to report abuse of children as well. So if you remember only one thing from today, and I know you're going to remember a lot of things, but if you remember only one thing, my advice would be, trust your gut. If you think something's off or something's wrong, and there may be some elder abuse going on, report it. Now, another thing this brochure does, when you get everybody at the same table from all these different organizations, the alphabet soup that is state government, sometimes you wonder where you report certain things. So it gives you the agency, the contact number, and the information. I know this is really small print. I'd have to get really close to read it myself. But the brochure gives that to you, the Adult Protective Services number, AG, Attorney General's Consumer Protection, healthcare fraud, when you might want to call the Department of Insurance and Financial Services. So this brochure we have available in several different languages. We've got it in Arabic, Spanish, Mandarin, and also the sign language. And so you see it here on our website, the Arabic version and the others. So this was never an initiative, but still things that we're doing, because this is the core of what we're doing. Recognize, report. Let's change those statistics. Let's change them today. We are our brothers and sisters keepers. And so that's why we put together this brochure. And Henry, if not now, sometime I'd like to go over some of the other things Justice Cavanagh so astutely mentioned. The training that we have, adult abuse, neglect, and exploitation. This is really valuable, 11 modules between 3 and 7 minutes. If you view this entire playlist, you can get through this in just over an hour. And really, it says 732 views. There have been a lot more than this. We pulled it down to do some updates when it had a few thousand views. So this has been really popular, and we are proud of it. Let me get back also to the home screen. So the Attorney General also talked about, the Justice Cavanagh also talked about other training that was available, reporting, that's under reporting. So mandatory reporting training, and also training for anybody who might want to report adult abuse and neglect. The short story is call APS. But this gives you a little bit more confidence in how to do that. And then the Financial Exploitation Prevention Act reference material is available there. We also have training on the Financial Exploitation Prevention Act. So let's scroll down a little bit here. And the other information, I'll talk about the second initiatives in a moment. But I want to share with your viewers how you get the brochures. Of course, you can come online, but if you want a bunch to distribute or have available at your business or to your social group, maybe at your place of worship, you can email AG as an Attorney General, but just the initials, ag-pa@mi.gov. Tell us what you want, where to send them, and we'll put them in the mail. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, but I couldn't resist the opportunity to show you some other things that are available online.
Thank you, Katharyn. Justice Cavanagh, where do you see the Supreme Court being most active as we move forward with this really important project?
Sure. I think where we have been active and will continue to be is working with on passing and supporting the legislation that Katharyn mentioned that's passing or that's being considered, and working to, it's an intensive process. It's a lot of back and forth and figuring out what's the right way to, sort of advance some of the things that need to be done and how that interacts with the court system. So we are playing a role in that. I think we also have a role to play for expertise of helping to train guardians and figure out, we have our judges and our attorneys and our court administrators, the teams within our courts have expertise to offer of what should these systems look like and what should guardians be trained on and certified on. So, that's between the Supreme Court and, like I had mentioned, our state court administrative office. We have a lot of experience and expertise that we want to contribute and be a part of developing some of, continuing to move and developing some of the ways to implement some of these initiatives. And I really do want to mention as well, as it's not the Supreme Court necessarily, but again, we're all one big court system is our probate courts. And we have so many really great probate courts across the state who are doing really important work and are contributing to these really important conversations as well. What we have developed in Katharyn, I'm sure that she's like the website expert. She can show us on, I'm sure that there's information on the website on this as well. But I think something that we've learned in the court systems, in general, is that, and maybe just across all sorts of things in general, it's sort of staying in your silo, or this is what I do. I don't know what the rest of you people do. I'm just going to do my part. These are the things I do. It doesn't work very well, right? We need that sort of multidisciplinary team approach of, it takes a caseworker and a guardian and a prosecutor and the judge and the everybody to sort of collectively be on the same page and aware of what other people are doing. And there are probate courts across the state that are already doing this, and we're the task force is really invested in trying to increase that participation. Just as an example, in Genesee County, Acosta County, I think as well, where they already have, these counties that are participating in a multidisciplinary team approach. And so we want to encourage that because our probate courts can be real leaders in this, just by sharing with the rest of their colleagues in other counties, the really important and great work that they're doing and their commitment to making sure that their role that they play and how they can help facilitate, other people and other players within the system to make sure that we are giving the best service to those affected, and that we are accessible, that our court system is accessible in the event that somebody needs us.
Katharyn, where do you see the Attorney General's office being most active as we move forward with this?
Well, we're going to be continually laser focused on accomplishing our initiatives. What I'd like to do just really quickly, however, I want to share the screen to let your viewers know, Justice Cavanagh mentioned these multidisciplinary teams. And so we have on our website, as Justice Cavanagh mentioned, the multidisciplinary teams protocols. We recently published these. Now we're working on educating folks. And so there's a community engagement protocol, probably what your viewers are most interested in. So to create community-based and enhanced multidisciplinary teams. This is what Justice Cavanagh referenced. We're all better together. We got to get out of our silos. Let's talk to each other. All boats really do rise together. And so this helps communities do that. And it's got forms and things that will assist. And then the other one, the one that's on the left of the website, the vulnerable adult teams, that's how law enforcement can be involved in this, because we not only need the community to be aware, we need law enforcement to go after these folks. And so we are very interested in that. Speaking of law enforcement going after these folks, and Henry, you'll have to cut me off if we're getting close to the end, because I could talk about this for days. We received an opinion from the Court of Appeals recently that we're going to use to help educate local law enforcement more, because this opinion lets us know for an adult to be vulnerable, they don't have to have a diagnosis of dementia or some other diagnosis. That we can be vulnerable in many different ways. And so we're using this as a springboard to help educate local law enforcement. This is a case that it dealt with over $300,000 that unfortunately, when the family took it to local law enforcement, they said it was civil. When it got to the AG's office, we investigated, indeed criminal, and it was taken all the way to the Court of Appeals. But to answer your question, you asked us what we would be most focused on. We're going to continue to be focused on the first initiatives because we haven't accomplished those. Just introducing them to the legislature is not accomplishing them. So we're going to be very focused on that. But then coming down the road, we, since I already mentioned, we've got 2, 3, and 4, we're pretty close to checking off. 5 through 9 are, again, a legislative effort. These won't be in a package because they're not all related, but your viewers can see those. A family consent law, that'll keep people out of the guardianship system if their family can consent to medical treatment, because once you get on that guardian highway, it's hard to get off. So let's, as Justice Cavanagh mentioned again, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Let's keep people out of this. The visitation law, we think we can improve that. Power of attorney statute, we think we can improve that. In fact, there's been a lot of work going on. Revising consumer protection laws to include criminal penalties for violations involving victims that are over 80 years old, provide a statutory procedure for vulnerable adults to remove unwanted occupants from their home. This is a big one. We have a subcommittee on this, probably one of the most popular subcommittees we've recently formed. Again, people from all of their different angles saying, yes, this is important. So you asked me what we would be focused on. We're focused on these second initiatives, and that's where we'll be going.
Justice Cavanagh, what can we do to protect those who are wards of the court?
Well, I think your viewers, and what we can do as citizens and here in the state is, to best protect those who are vulnerable is to make sure, is to, as we've said now a number of times, remain alert. Don't be afraid to report it. As Katharyn said, which I think is really great, is that trust your gut. If something seems off, report it and get help in figuring out if it is in fact a problem or somebody needs help. And it's on the website. It's the same number as Katharyn said for reporting suspected abuse of children. And it's available, 24/7. And I think that is just to get that message out. And frankly, I think the programs like this and the work that we do, the brochure and the website and all of these things is just to get that message out to as many people as we can. I think from the court system in general, what we can do to protect that is to remain vigilant in being transparent and being accessible to those who need the court's help, those who need the court's help to protect, their family member, or to help them get the authority and the ability that they can to make sure that they're, again, the sort of upstream stuff. And then also fortunately, if to be there to protect the rights of people who have already been violated. So it's really important that courts are transparent and are accessible and engaged with the people that we are elected and responsible for serving.
For both of you, Justice Cavanagh and Katharyn Barron, what can Lori Bloom, my partner, and I at Gracefully Graying do to help enhance this project and participate? I mean, I'm thinking out loud, but one thing we can do, a lot of these brochures and booklets can be made available through our website as well as your respective websites. But give us some other thoughts.
If I may jump in,
Yeah.
Justice Cavanagh.
Please do.
Always be careful before you interrupt a Supreme Court justice. But I think, Henry, what you're doing is fabulous. Continue to do just what you're doing. Educate yourself and others. Watching this program, sharing it with others. I think getting the Elder Abuse Task Force newsletter, in addition to the brochures and distributing those are very important. But the newsletter will keep you abreast of what we're doing. And you may see, that education, yeah, that's what I want to do. Or, that legislation, I want to support that. I'm going to call my legislator. Oh, I'm going to call, the chair of the judiciary and say, I know about this and I support it. If that is indeed the case. So continue to do what you're doing. And on behalf of all the people of the state of Michigan, thank you for your efforts in this regard, and congratulations on having such a...
We want to maintain an active dialogue, and I think that's important. As we wind down, let me go back to you, Justice Cavanagh. What are some takeaways that you would like to share with our viewers before we sign off?
So I guess a couple, I sound a bit like a broken record, but it's that important that we need to do it is don't hesitate to report suspected abuse or neglect to Adult Protective Services, to the AG's office, to your local law enforcement, whatever it may be. Report, recognize and report. I think that's a main one. I think also continue to do these things to educate yourself and others, in your circle, be it your other family members or colleagues or, community members, neighbors, is to educate yourself to recognize the signs of elder abuse, and watching programs like these, right, and be the beacon for your group, right? Whatever that may be, or your multiple groups, to report that. And with respect to the courts, I think is that one of the takeaways is to emphasize that the courts are committed to being a partner in this journey, in this quest to make sure that we can protect and provide the best services that we can for people in Michigan that need that.
We're out of time. I want to thank Supreme Court Justice Megan Cavanagh and Katharyn Barron from the Michigan State Attorney General's Office for this wonderful program on all of the things going on with regard to elder abuse and how to fight it and prevent it. Thank you so much for being our guests, and thank you, our viewers, for watching this Gracefully Graying episode.